Today, there is much of interest in the migration of monarchs. One way to study their flights is to catch and tag the butterflies. Farther south, if caught again, the route of migration can be identified.
Hi, thank you for coming to StarNet Studios. I am Andre Tucker. Appreciate you coming to see us today or at this evening, depending on when you happen to be watching us. Today, I have Fernanda Parrado. She is based out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, and she is a award-winning filmmaker. Is making a lot of people proud, both here in the United States as well as there and all over the rest of the world. So how's it going, Fernanda? You feeling all right today?
Hi, Andre. I am. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much for coming. So like I said, you are an award-winning filmmaker, and a lot of that has been for your piece, Metamorphosis, which is an experimental film. You've won a lot of different experimental film awards that we've read about. You've just to cover some of that, you've spent time with the Aphrodite Film Awards. You were awarded Best Filmmaker, and you also with the Indie and Foreign Film Festival, you won for Best Experimental Film with that. And then the Queen's World Film Festival, Best Experimental Short. So these awards were all for your film Metamorphosis. And clearly, as when you see that, there's obviously a lot of the butterfly imagery, but and as far as moving and migrating from one place to another, but there's a lot more to it than just focusing on the butterfly itself. So you want to tell us a little bit about what is going on and what brought this film together here?
Yeah, sure. So I started to think about this film when I actually saw the archives of the butterflies. I went to New York, and I was in New York for 4 years, and I have like my family, they're all immigrants. So my family migrated from Spain to Brazil, and then I have like people from everywhere in the world in my family. So I have my grandmother, she's from Germany, and then I have like people from Portugal, Argentina, like all over the world, because I'm Brazilian, so there's all this mix. And when I went to New York, being a Latina and being there by myself, I understood what it means to be an immigrant in New York and how difficult it is to have the same type of opportunities, to have new opportunities in your life because you're an immigrant. Sometimes like you don't have the visa, so you get very limited because you were born in another country. And I had that experience for almost 5 years. And when I did this film, it was for my college, so I needed to do a thesis film, and I knew that it had to be about immigration. And I love archives, I love Super A, celluloid, and all that. So when I was watching the archives, I saw the archives about the butterflies, and I was like, hold on, it's talking about butterflies and migration, but I could identify myself on that story. So I was like, okay, I need to do a film that talks about butterflies, but actually is talking about people like me and people, that immigrants that you see in the US and all the struggles that they have. So pretty much the film is about that experience and what it means to be an immigrant and how that is related to the monarch butterflies. And generations, and trying to be different from generations that came before you. So basically, like the monarch butterflies, they're known for is a really crazy kind of aspect that they have. So there's some research that say that the monarch butterflies, the older generations, they travel and then they try to find better places, to migrate to and then survive. And most of them die in their way there. So the other generations after this first generation, somehow they are born already knowing where to go because of the older generations. So they don't have to struggle as much as the older generations because they made their path there. So basically it's the same kind of story to me because my family came to Brazil, went through so many struggles so that I could come to Brazil. And then after them going through so many struggles, I became an immigrant too and went through the same struggles. So it's kind of like this idea of do generations, when they migrate, do they help the next generations to have a better life or not? So that's what the film is about.
Now, when you went to New York and did you have this kind of an idea in mind? I mean, it sort of developed from your feelings of being an immigrant or being a newcomer to that particular city. But like when you were deciding, I'm going to go to film school and I'm going to go to New York, did you have any kind of conceptions or thoughts about the types of films you wanted to make, like back before you even showed up in New York?
No, not at all. Like I just knew I love film, and I just knew I really wanted to go to New York to experience that, to have that experience of doing film in New York or LA, which is like the best well-known places to, work with film. So I just wanted to have that experience, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about New York. It was like the first time that I went to New York. I didn't know anyone, didn't know where to live. I didn't know what I wanted to do with film. So it was really an experience of discovery. And, I'm extremely grateful for having that experience. Yeah.
Okay. And you took a lot of what you learned there and you brought it back to Brazil with. So what is your experience like shooting in Sao Paulo or any other parts of the nation? How's that work down there? What's the industry like from your perspective there?
Yeah, so I came to Brazil because of the pandemic and because my visa expired. So I had to come back, and it's a little different right now because of the pandemic, and everything is closed and all that. So I didn't really have that experience yet. But right now I'm working as a production assistant at a production company, an independent production company, and I've been shooting some things with a community of Super 8 and 16 millimeter here. And from my experience, it's really way more difficult to have access to equipment and celluloid and things here because everything depends on money, and most of the things depends also how the dollar is doing. So, all that exchange really makes things expensive here. And to have access to that is way more difficult than it was in New York. So sometimes, I just want to go and shoot a film and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm in Brazil. I'm not in the US anymore. So you have to have more preparation. You have to put more money, so it's difficult. Yeah.
So as you've mentioned, yes, we are currently in the pandemic, and things. There have been certain improvements as of the date of this discussion we're having now compared to previous months. So once things improve even further, do you intend to come back and focus more, like you said, New York, LA, places like that? Or do you think you would kind of just remain in Brazil and focus on your work and your productions there?
Yeah, it's kind of like related to the film Metamorphosis as well, because I'm Brazilian. I don't have American citizenship. I don't have like anyone there. So if I want to go to the US, I have to struggle so much to find a way of getting a visa. And that's exactly what I'm going through right now. So I have no idea if in the future I will be able to go to the US because of this visa situation. But for now, I'm sure that I'm gonna be here in Brazil for a while. And I learned to like that because in the beginning I was like, oh my God, I just want to go back to New York. I don't want to be here anymore. But, I've been here for already a year. And to remind myself where I came from and to remind myself that, you can do film wherever. It's going to be more difficult here for sure. But, I just want to do films. That's what I want to do for a living. So I can do that anywhere. And I just need to relearn how to do that here. So yeah, my focus right now is just to survive here. That's my
All right. And what is it that, because Brazil, I've not had the pleasure of going there yet, and at least so far, but from everything I've seen, just from what I've read and what I've seen, it looks like a very beautiful nation, and there's lots of beauty in it, I should say. What are some of your favorite things about like when you spend time there, whether it's, I guess let's look at it from a non-pandemic review because I'm perspective, because I know that you're, like many of us, you are, things are limited right now as far as what you can do. But what are some of your favorite things about just spending time down there, whether it's filming or not filming?
Yeah. So I'm in São Paulo, and São Paulo is kind of like pretty similar to New York. It's a big city and, chaos everywhere. I really love that. So that's why I love New York as well. I would say that what I love the most is knowing that my family is here for sure. Knowing that, I'm going to be able to speak my language without people all the time saying like, oh my God, you have an accent. Where are you from? So that is good. The food as well. I miss the food so much. And yeah, I think basically, when it comes to film as well, knowing that if I'm doing something here, I want to be doing something that is related to my culture and that somehow is going to promote that to other places. So, if I join festivals in the US, if I join festivals, I don't know, everywhere, I'm going to be representing like Brazil because I'm Brazilian. So wherever I go, I'm Brazilian. And it's good to feel that you belong somewhere, that you're like in your country and you don't have to worry about, I don't know, your accent, not having your family around, not having the food that you miss, that usually you eat every day. So yeah, basically that. I love that about Brazil.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you love film. Tell me about some of the films that you loved before you got into it yourself, whether it be US based films, Brazilian films. Like, what are some of your favorites that may have influenced you?
Before I start thinking about going to film school, I didn't think about doing film at all. I was thinking about doing philosophy or something like that. And then because like I didn't really relate to some of the films that like my parents like to watch and everything. So one day I got home and then there was like a film called Amour by Michael Haneke, and it was so beautiful. I watched that, and it's about a couple, an old couple that, they're going through this path of like saying goodbye to the person that you love and knowing that they're gonna pass away, but not really knowing how to deal with it. So I watched that, and I thought that was so, so beautiful that that's exactly what I wanted to do for my life. Like I just wanted to film, moments in our lives that they're so special and so beautiful, but a lot of people don't really represent that on screen. So that's when I decided I wanted to do film. So yeah, that film for sure. I love Agnes Varda as well. Like I love Jonas Mekas. I love that aspect of experimental filmmaking that try to be more natural without being natural. So I really like that. I like that. I like people that try to show real life, but also show that what they're showing is not real life because it's film, so everything is fiction, you know.
Right.
I really like that. Yeah.
All right. So clearly, a lot of other people like that because, as I mentioned, you have quite a few awards that you've actually won. I mean, a lot of people can say, I've been nominated for this and that, but you have a number of wins. So, congratulations on all of that. And much of that was focused on Metamorphosis. So, if someone wants to take a look at Metamorphosis or anything else that you've worked on or are going to be working on in the future, where's the best place that you would have someone look?
So I put Metamorphosis is on my Vimeo account. So if you search for Fernanda Parrado, my name, you can find Metamorphosis and some of the films that I shot. Right now, I'm actually like doing a film. I'm part of that community that I said about that shoots Super 8, 16 millimeter here in Brazil. So they do like a festival that is really crazy. They send you a Super 8 and a camera, and then you have 15 days to shoot something and then send that to them. And then they develop the film, and then you see the film during the festival. So it's surprising because you have no idea how the film is gonna be. And they're gonna have one next month. It's gonna be the festival is called Super Off, and they're a Brazilian festival. And yes, you can see some of the films there too, and on my Vimeo account, Fernanda Parrado.
Okay, excellent. So we'll look forward to taking a look at that, and as well as other things you have going on in the future. And once again, congratulations on all the recognitions you have for Metamorphosis, and just thank you for coming to StarNet Studios.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you tomorrow.